for me.
I love you.
Aw, thanks. I love you too.
What is up, my people? How are we doing? You know, I haven't even mentioned Halloween. We're getting so close to Halloween. And I guess the only reason why, it's not like a huge deal for me is my life is sort of Halloween. But Halloween is rapidly approaching, and I think it's the perfect time to be talking about this fantastic restaurant, Muriel's, and their history and their haunted history. So today I am going to just talk about the history of the restaurant, the building, the home itself. Firstly, let me just show you this awesome cape. Check it out. I got this at one of my favorite stores in New Orleans, Roadkill. They have awesome clothes and accessories there. If you come to New Orleans, make sure you check them out. I'll put a link in the description. They probably have a website where you can buy stuff from there as well. If you've been following me for some time, you've seen some of the awesome purses I've gotten at Roadkill. Love it. Love the shop. Okay, so I did take all of this information directly from Muriel's own website, so it comes straight from the horse's mouth, baby, okay? We're having our coffee, we're having our Coke, we're having a smoke. It's a fabulous day here in New Orleans. It's warm, but it's not too humid and it's not too warm. It doesn't feel like Satan's bumhole today. I love it. It's very comfortable. So here we go. Okay. Muriel's is located in Jackson Square, right on the corner next to the cathedral. It's very easy to find, and I do readings in Jackson Square sometimes, and I've been staring at this building for a while now. Now, I want to say that I really didn't know all of this history until I read it on their own website. I felt very drawn to the place. That's usually how things work for me. I'm drawn, and then I learn, okay? So, Muriel's is a Creole cuisine restaurant, and it's located right in the heart of Jackson Square, right next to St. Louis Cathedral. Now, New Orleans itself was founded in 1718. A young French Canadian named Claude Trepanier, I hope I'm saying that correctly, I may not be. He was a member of the expedition party led by Bienville that carved a clearing on the bank of the river and named it Ville de la Nouvelle Orleans. Okay, my French isn't perfect. As a reward for his participation in the expedition, Claude was granted a plot of land where he constructed a home of brick between posts covered with shiplap siding, a bark shingled roof, and a brick chimney, and a front gallery. And thus we have this beautiful home. Okay, in 1721, the official design of the city was laid out. The grid pattern of the streets of the new town were laid out, with the center being the Place d'Armes, which means parade grounds, which is now what we know as Jackson Square. The central focus of the traditionally designed French town, it is very much a French town, and I have been to Paris, and that's part of what did draw me to New Orleans. The center was the cathedral. With the laying out of the new city, Claude's house became a key plot of land. Sometime between 1743 and 1762, Jean-Baptiste d'Estrahan acquired the property. And these names are all big names that you hear in New Orleans, okay? He was the royal treasurer of the French Louisiana colonies and was a man of great wealth and power in New Orleans. He tore down the humble cottage and built a suitably fine home for his family. His residence was second only to the French colonel governor's mansion, which stood where the presbytere, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is today. Jean-Baptiste outfitted and furnished the house with the best linens, fabrics, drapes, rugs, furniture, china, crystal, and silver, all of which were imported from Paris. The house is described in documents as having a drawing room, a music room, a ballroom, a dining room, 5 bedrooms, 3 cabinets, and a coach house with a kitchen. And this does remind me a lot of some of the big mansions in New Orleans. Okay? Now, in 1776, after the death of Jean-Baptiste in 1765, the house passed to his son and was then sold at auction when the family money ran out. In 1776, Pierre Philippe de okay, I always say this word wrong. Marigny? I think it's Marginy. I'm not sure. Marginy. I'm going to have to ask a local. Used the house, but that's another big name in New Orleans, and it's now an area. Used the house as one of his city homes when he came into town from his plantation on the outskirts of town, which is now the Faubourg. Marigny? I don't even know. I'm so bad. Okay. In 1778, there was the Good Friday fire. Now, there's been many big famous fires in New Orleans, okay? This is one of them. A major fire swept through the French Quarter on the Friday before Easter. The elegant residence was partially burned. Marigny sold the property to Pierre Jourdan, and this just made me think of Jourdan shoes, if you know them, who rebuilt the house. I don't know if there's a family connection. I'm going to have to research that a little more. But Pierre rebuilt the house using the remaining portions of the building that were still standing. During renovation of Muriel's, we uncovered many of the original charred walls and beams, is what they write on their website, which is kind of cool. So there is some of the original house still left and included in the design of the restaurant. 1823 to 1861, the house was owned by Julien Poydras, who was the president, and this is another big New Orleans name, who was the president of the Louisiana State Senate and director of the Louisiana Bank. Poydras Street is named after Julien, and he purchased the residence and refurnished it with lavish fineries and furnishings. A year after moving into the home, he became ill and died, and I can't help but wonder if that had something to do with the house and the history and the spirits. We shall see. At any rate, his widow and family continued to live in the home throughout the heyday of New Orleans. They used the home as their city home, clearly that's a theme, and a place to entertain when they were in town. When they were away from their 6 plantations, darling. Okay. All right. 1862 to 1891. During the Civil War and for several years after, the Poydras family continued to own the home until it was sold to Theodore Laveau in 1881. And again, I don't know if there's a connection there to Marie Laveau. I need to do a little bit more research. But we're hearing a lot of big names, big New Orleans names associated with this house. Okay? Let me relight my cigarette, see where I'm at. So Julian purchased the residence. Oh, I already said that. Okay. Where was I? Okay, it was sold to Theodore Laveau in 1881, who owned the property until 1891. During the years after the Civil War, hard times fell upon the once rich city. And we all know how that feels, and it isn't fun. Hardest hit were the wealthy plantation owners, such as Poydras. Much of the wealth and power had shifted from the old French families of the French Quarter to the American sector of the Garden District and uptown. I prefer the French Quarter myself. Regardless, the houses and properties in the French Quarter began to fall into decay and were considered to be unfashionable, darling. Then, 1891 to 1916, Peter Lepari, who had made a fortune in cornering the orange market, must be why they have those fabulous blood orange blackberry martinis. He purchased the building and remodeled it to its present look today. The building was converted to a series of commercial businesses. Hill's restaurant used a portion of the building, and the corner on Jackson Square was a bar. The Alec now I'm not sure how to pronounce this. I would assume it's Lanlois Saloon by 1895. The saloon was the home of the well-known Royal Club, baby, which was a drinking club of New Orleans notables that was, quote-unquote, organized for fun, pure and simple. Now, I don't know, but I think the Queen needs to revive the Royal Club. Just saying. Sounds like it's my style. Okay. From 1916 to 1974, the building was purchased by Frank Tormina, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and served as a pasta factory and as a grocery store on the first floor. The building was converted into a restaurant called, you may have heard of it, the Spaghetti Factory. So much cool history related to this house. Okay. And let me just say, if you're in the paranormal and interested in, ghost hunting, I don't really like the word hunting, but let's say ghost exploration, paranormal investigation, you should be just as interested in the history, which I certainly am. In 1974 to 2000, the building became a chart house restaurant. Now, if you know anything about chart house restaurants, they're usually fabulous. I've been to many since I worked in yachting for so long. Okay, so it became a chart house restaurant which occupied the site for 25 years. The bottom portion of the building was used for several years during the 1970s as Heritage Hall and was home of the Heritage Hall Jazz Band. Now, my daughter, she is the most amazing flautist, and she performed with the Newport Naval Band jazz band for quite some time, which was really awesome. So all this synchronicity, I'm loving. All right, from 2000 to the present, Muriel's Jackson Square opened its doors on March 10th, 2001, after an extensive restoration of the building to its former glory of the mid-1800s. The renovation tried to remain faithful to the original historic design of the building as a prime private residence, and it is gorgeous, and there are so many rooms, and you can see how it was a house, a home, of definitely the upper class, and it looks like the epitome of a wealthy city home for a private family. Upstairs, the restoration was done under a National Historic Tax Credit as administered by the National Park Service, which operates in the French Quarter as a National Historic Park. The key to the Loving Restoration project was to bring back what had once been an elegant private home in the heart of the French Quarter. So there you have the history of the house. This does actually make me think that there should be a preservation society of the French Quarter or of New Orleans, like we have in Newport, Rhode Island. Maybe it exists and I haven't heard of it. I don't know. Again, I need to do a little bit more research. If it doesn't exist, hey, maybe I ought to start it. But you have to have these sort of societies to do exactly that, preserve some of these buildings, some of these historic buildings, so that they can't be damaged, torn down, etc. I'll never forget, my second husband was hired as a painter for one of the mansions in New Orleans. I'm not going to say which one, that had been purchased by Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle. And, obviously he's a big yachtsman and whatnot. At any rate, he purchased this very historic Newport mansion. My ex-husband was working there. He had to sign a non-disclosure agreement where, he wasn't even allowed to look upon Larry Ellison's likeness. I hate that kind of shit. You should know that. Anyway, Ellison was tearing out some gorgeous moldings and stuff from this beautiful home. Because for some reason, this particular home wasn't protected by the Preservation Society. I hate to hear of stuff like that. Just literally throwing it away on the street. Pieces of history. So these preservation societies are very key and important groups to protect some of the history of cities. So, yeah, there you have it. That's the history of Muriel's. Now, we haven't gotten into the haunted history yet, but trust me, we're getting there, darling. Okay? So I wanted to do this video today to talk about the history of the home and the house, which is integral to the connection to the spirits. All right? I have to do this in bits because there's a lot to talk about. So today, that's it. Just the history of the home, the famous names associated with it. And next we'll be talking about some of the haunted history. I hope everybody is having a fabulous Wednesday. It's hump day. If you're doing your humping, do it in private, darling. No one wants to see it unless you're on Pornhub. Love you guys. Have a great day. Be kind, be loving, be generous, be forgiving, be compassionate, be empathetic. Make sure you kiss your loved ones and tell them everything you want to say, because you never know which day is your last day, especially now. Don't let the demons bite. And until next time, darlings, I bid you adieu. And get your Halloween prep ready, because it's coming fast. See you soon.